More puppy love.
Like, I could just joke and be like, I know. I know what it is.
You should say, you know what it is, and then say something wrong on purpose.
What car is this?
I don't know.
Exactly. Perfect.
Tim told me, but I forgot.
And today's video is brought to you by...
So you said something about a roof scoop?
Roof scoop.
Scoopity scoop. Whoop-de whoop.
Yeah, so now that we got this nice back window area, we're not gonna have a back window. We got the cab pretty much, it's 99% there, but we're not priming it yet because we need to add the roof scoop. The roof scoop's gonna come, you know, a third of the roof back, come down, and it's actually gonna hold the rear wing as well. So we have to set up all of this stuff perfectly now so we don't have to come chop it up later. We're gonna use the fiberglass body as, you know, our plug for all of our molds, obviously. So we wanna make sure it's great and ready to go for the carbon version of this, so we don't have to make any modifications.
So is the scoop, it's going to be real functional, I guess, for cooling, or?
So if we end up making another one of these for somebody that's like internal combustion engine back here, it'd be more functional. Right now it's probably just going to like feed my AC.
Oh, okay.
So it will be functional, but not for engine cooling. It's going to be one of the side radiators feed the motor and inverter. And another one of the CSF radiators is going to cool the batteries and DC-DC converter. We're going to go down a whole rabbit hole of that stuff later though. Today we're working on scoop. So we can kind of make this out of anything as long as it keeps its shape. So what I'm thinking is the top arch of the scoop is about like a 4-inch radius. So I'm going to like scour the shop, maybe go in the construction area and see if I can find a 4-inch PVC pipe.
That was some quick shopping.
Yeah. Thanks, nephew. Okay. Okay, 51.75. What did I say? 50 what?
51.75.
What's your guess? 5, 4, 3.
I fumbled.
It's 25.875.
That was definitely fumbled.
Damn, I actually cut that right in the middle. Like that's that line I cut.
Out here stroking your own ego. Damn, I'm pretty much just too damn good.
The best there ever was.
The way you're like setting this up reminds me of an old person out in the woods with like a Polaroid camera.
Yes.
Must get the right angle for film.
Hey, geez. Hope we can hear the sick T Swift in the background.
All my homies hate Taylor Swift.
And someone's not friends listen to Taylor.
Oh yeah. Y'all know who really secretly loves some T Swift here.
Yeah, so now we know where the center line of everything is. Now we got to go back to the renders, figure out how far back this thing starts. We're gonna have to make a little cutout for our brake light. It's gonna be, one of our brake lights is gonna be here.
And you plan on, I guess, showing the engine back there like that? Or having that visible?
Yeah, it's not gonna stick out of the butt this much. We're gonna tuck it in. It's gonna be a little classier than that, but not, the ass ain't gonna be all the way out, but we're gonna be peeking.
It's gonna have a little plumber's butt.
Yes.
The perfect amount of butt to show.
This will actually be mounted about 2 inches higher in the rear, 2 or 3 inches higher in the rear, and then like 5 or 6 inches higher in the front.
Okay.
So right now it's leaning down like this. It's gonna straighten out, and there's gonna be a pole here. There's also gonna be a little body trim piece.
Hey,
It's about an inch lower than this.
don't reveal too much.
Yeah. We're getting there, but you got the questions, I got answers. You're good.
I think that looks pretty much accurate.
I'll mess with the warranty some more. Oh, but my new niece, furry niece, is here. Little Floof!
Oh, you got a new pup.
Yeah.
She's so freaking cute. Don't step on anything dangerous, please.
Ah, you're intrigued.
Because every time I try to take a picture of her, she's like,
Oh, hey, let me get...
hello?
Would you have found the perfect piece of material? How you gonna make this work?
So we're gonna end up cutting, you know, the top here, cutting the back with a little bit to spare so I can figure that out back there. But this is obviously, it's gonna curve like this. It actually curves a little bit and then it sticks up. So it doesn't go completely parallel with it, it sticks up a little bit. So it'll end up being like, you know, here maybe. But again, we're not gonna use the very first chunk of it. So we'll use right there. So I need to make it run like this, start to curve. So we're gonna lop this end off here, and then maybe put another section up here. And then I'll foam this maybe up at this top and round that whole section in, but at least I'll have a section of the steel to work with. Thinking if I make some really good templates, I can figure out this angle, because this stays like this, right? And then it tapers out wider because it stays the same angle. And then it tapers back in because it stays the same angle. So it's gonna be a complex shape to cut out of steel that I could sit in here, but if I do that, I can weld it to here, mount this to the body, weld the steel to there, and then I don't have to foam and do all this crazy mud work again, because this was like, it's only one episode for you guys. This is like 5 days of like sanding and mudding and whatever. We got to keep this thing rolling. We got a deadline. Xavier just reminded me that I bought this a while ago, which I already knew. But of course, we're not gonna end up using this, but it's a good example of what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, because it has a I guess, style almost.
Yeah, so this is actually off of a IndyCar, just like our suspension. So we're looking, you know, it's actually gonna end up being something like that, I would say. But the way that this sticks out this way, and this shape is not exactly wide enough, it's easier just to remake it all by hand, scratch.
And you got a decent template to go off of, so it's...
With that steel, yeah. And then, you know, if anybody wants an IndyCar intake scoop, let me know. Actually, well, if we ended up doing, if anybody wants a F132 with an internal combustion engine, I got a scoop for you. And I can make you a car.
Turn it up.
Starts with the spine and you make it sexy after.
Okay, so now that we have the backbone of the scoop done, I'm going to work on mounting the sheet metal to the sides and adding the little front section here so I can build that and foam that.
Big round of applause. How about range of bigger Econovans and light trucks from Ford. Big on load space. Check. Binnacle switches on vans. Check. Independent front suspension. Check. High-tech engines. Check. 5-speed transmissions. Check. Parts of the Ford Truck Force.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so picking up where we left off, clearly we didn't use the big bazooka tube thing that we put on here. After going back and referencing a lot of the photos, the front end of the intake scoop is 4 inches wide, but where it comes down to the back end, it tapers down a lot to like 1 inch wide, at least at the seam. So I also said I wasn't going to use this intake.
I was just about to say.
But then I chopped it up and I used it. It's just screwed on there for right now. I placed a big order with fiberglass with some foam and stuff like that. I'm gonna fill all of this in here, tape up a lot of this stuff. That whole
okay.
thing. It'll make it a lot easier to because I have to fill this straight and stuff like that. Then we'll go over how we're actually splitting this mold so I can keep this shape without having to mechanically lock it in and stuff like that. But Ryan and I spent a couple days figuring out where to put seams and the angle of flanges that'll work. So it's like a big, confusing Lego set. But I'll go over a little bit what happened in the past couple days. So clearly, we now have a little, I want to call it a mohawk, but it's an intake technically, which is a big piece of the design. So basically, I took that big bazooka tube thing off and used a piece of 1-inch steel pipe that I had laying around from the 240Z roll cage and attached it to a 2x4 vertically. So just screwed this to that board and then screwed it back in the exact same place that we had the big ass 4-inch tube. So that gave us a really good backbone for this. That's the correct diameter. And then I made cardboard templates for these sides and traced them onto this sheet metal. This is spare sheet metal that we're using for the oven. And so I got them both to match. And then I put little blocks back here. So this had something so it's stiff, something to sit against. And then ran some epoxy, sit the one side at a time, sit one side on, and then I just put some clamps on the top and ran a bunch of little tack welds up the back. Did the same thing to the other side. And then we pretty much had this
That was very resourceful.
nice taper with the correct diameter ridge at the top. It does actually, on Aaron's model, it does point a little bit more. It gets even pointier to almost like an exact ridge, and then it fans out. But the way I want to design my tail light, it's going to go better with this design, so I added this.
Is that why I squared off right here? I guess that's on the...
This, yeah, so the tail light's going to mount to this. I've been talking to our buddy Alex from Airworks, and you guys all know him as the guy that 3D prints all the cool stuff for us, that designed the 240Z taillights with me and everything like that, 3D printed them all for us. Yeah, so he's going to help us out again on sick lights for this bad boy. So we have some really good ideas for the front and rear lighting. So this is just the carbon intake from an Indy car, which I hacked up into pieces. It was a little too wide at the base, so I cut the center out, squished it together. I ground down a little block in here, so that's the correct width. So he's gonna fill this with foam, and then I actually need to round the bottom of this out a little bit. And then it'll have a little, if you look at the model, it has a cut in here, it comes up, but it's the right height, it's the right width, comes forward enough, so we're good to go here. Back here, I moved on to the vents. There's a bunch of different variations of this in Aaron's different models. He's one that has 20 little mini vents going down the back of it. He has one that's 5 vents. I like the 3 vents, also it's less sanding. So, what I did here is actually a nice little trick I've created from when I started doing, I did a bunch of S2000 hoods. I put vents in them, hoods, stuff like that. So essentially all you do is you make a C cut like this, and then you push it down, right?
You did that with the 240 hood.
Yeah, I did that too, yeah. So I did that here, but this fiberglass is pretty thick. It's just chop strand mat with like a ton of resin. So what I did was score a mark in the back of it, which actually helps also because it makes this transition more, instead of just keeping it super gradual, it makes it a little pointier here, which goes with the model as well. Because Aaron Beck's model comes in here just like this, and then it has another body line here where the flare ends, where the vent ends. So I just scored the back of it, and then I got, I think it's half-inch MDF, cut into little roundabout, the right size pieces, and pushed these in, slid these little blocks in, and then I epoxied them in place. And then, actually last night I put some tape on the outside here, and I went from the back with 45-minute epoxy, which is why it's this gray color, and epoxy it from the back so I have a nice little filled transition point, which I'm gonna tape off here, which is what I started doing, and I'm going to make sure that these angles look correct for the model, but I'm gonna tape around this and then mud it with some like top coat or something like that. Aaron Beck also has a couple different versions of the rear deck lid where it has like a polycarbonate window here that comes down into like the little trunk piece. Which trunk piece comes down like this. I'm undecided if I'm actually even gonna cut the trunk piece out, but for now what I'm gonna do is cut a line in here and then tape it from the front side and epoxy from the back, or the other way around, just like I did this stuff. So there's a line there, but then it's reattached. So when I make the part, I'll have a nice little seam, but it will technically not be cut. And if I needed to cut it later, I could, and it's at least even and has a slight little roll to the edge of it. So this is the rear wing we're gonna be using. It's an aluminum wing because I wanna make sure that the whole wing structure, which is technically 3 elements, is all very structurally sound. And the only place it connects to the car is here at the center point. It gets 50 inches wide by, I don't even know how tall yet. Since it's aluminum, I'm gonna have an actual 2 aluminum pipes that go down into the frame back here, and then I'll have a bolt that's hidden behind the taillight that bolts this wing in. So it can come out fairly easily, but it's bolted in, to the frame, so it's actually gonna be structurally sound. But the issue I had was, I need to cut this down, and I wanna make sure this profile matches perfectly, so the easiest thing to do is just tape off a section of the wing and then lay a little bit of the carbon tape I got from fiberglass in there, and then I just cut a big chunk into the back of here. Did it a couple times, just kept checking the render height until this looked correct. And I taped it to the back of this bad boy, glued it in here, and used the level, make sure it was level left and right, and then I also measured to the body in the multiple different places to make sure that it's not off like this. So where it actually sits level with the piece under there is the correct spot for the wing. But then I ran into the issue where you have this little piece that it needs to continue. I had an extra wing element, it bits, so I cut a little section, used 2 pieces of Divinycell foam, epoxied them in here. And also the angle of this changes. In Aaron Beck's model, it changes here, but I actually made it change here because the shape of the taillight that I'm gonna run is gonna be, it's gonna match like this kind of profile here, so it'll flow well once that's all done.
So I guess with the other wing, you're gonna cut off the 2 ends and mount it to this, or?
So this right here, we're gonna make a pre-preg mold from, make the carbon version of this, and then that wing, we're gonna wrap in pre-preg fiberglass and then pre-preg carbon to make it stronger, also so it will match all the rest of the carbon. We're doing a layer of fiberglass first because aluminum and carbon fiber do not play well together.
Yeah.
It will do some galvanic corrosion. It's one of the worst combos. Now that we have this done, it must seem like we're just doing random stuff to you guys because this body is like so crazy. But the main goal for this is to get the body together and able to be primed at one point, and then we can start making molds off of it to start taking the carbon parts, making carbon parts from those molds. So just like when we were building the 240Z and everyone kept saying, why are you wrapping your car in carbon fiber? It's making it heavier.
Yeah.
We're not using any of this stuff. Like the 2x4 in here will not be part of this car.
I was just
But,
want to say,
yeah.
make the mold part is like one of the hardest parts. I feel like.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
time
yeah,
consuming.
The plug is the biggest, and then the mold, and then the carbon part. Especially if it's pre-preg. Carbon pre-preg should go smoothly as long as you got a fucking huge oven. The Oven 2000. Have you ever needed to bake an 8-foot tall cake and you had nowhere to bake it? Well, I've got the solution for you. I'm Tim from Street Bandito, and this is the Oven 2000. Call the number on screen right now. Place your order, $6,000, that's all. You can have one today.
Ah, I like the name.
McLovin. Yeah, so
What's next?